Hello everyone. Welcome. Thank you for being here. This is the third Holistic Wellness Wednesday Wellness Holistic Platica with Ms. Medicina, intended to offer us all a space to examine our health symptoms, our health related issues from a holistic lens. In my belief system, holistic lens. Holistic lens has to do with mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical manifestations of what we're looking at. And we would be remiss to not include our historical contexts in looking at our well-being. So with respect to the uprisings, with respect to the really effed up stuff going on in the colonial state right now, white supremacy, black bodies being tortured, shot, disregarded by the status quo Americana design, and indigenous people being murdered and forgotten and no one being held accountable. This is a legacy. This is something that the America has been based upon. And when we're looking at health concerns of black and indigenous people of color, as well as white people, we have to understand what premise these health concerns are from. So whenever I'm treating anybody in clinic, I take those things into account. So I can only come at it from my perspective. I mean, I have definitely worked with a lot of different people to heal a lot of different symptoms, isms, but my personal perspective is that of a light-skinned Chicana raised in an indigenous way, and coming into like my medicine as a lineage-based practitioner. So what I have found is, even though we've been passed on certain medicines, we've also been passed on certain traumas, right? Now, these traumas create responses in our body. So I just want to go over quickly with you what, according to Chinese medicine, happens to the body with specific emotions, okay? So the emotion of fear lives in the kidneys. The kidneys are the bottom, the organ on the bottom in the back, and that the opposite part of the fear is will, and this is the will of your life purpose, the the will to survive. So if you are able to incite fear in people, you are able to take away their life will, take away their, right? So here we look at the military state, all right? The liver houses anger. Anger is often repressed in people because of fear. And when our anger becomes repressed, the liver is supposed to be responsible for the smooth flow of qi and storing the blood. So then our blood becomes blocked. All right. There are a lot of things that happen from repressed anger, and everyone suffers from this because there's a lot to be angry about, but because of fear of losing your job, fear of your husband, fear of the colonial state, fear of the police, we keep that down, and it comes out in spaces that feel safer for us. So anger can do a lot of different things, and I'll go back over symptomology in a little bit. The emotion of the heart is joy or lack of joy. So this comes into a place, and this is why my sister lady speech and so many beautiful black humans in this time, and all humans as well, are calling us to our joy, especially the people who've been historically put asunder from joy, because joy in itself creates movement. Our heart is the emperor. Our heart is what incites the rest. The point in our underarm, the first point of the heart meridian, is called the summit spring. So that's like the highest tributary, and from that tributary, everything else can move, everything can flow. When we have joy, our heart blood is moving, it is strong, it is powerful, okay? So it is so important for us to be in joy when it comes to our heart space. Now, if you see people who've been removed from their joy, people who've had to marry young, people who were forced into slavery, people who were forced into work conditions as children, babies in cages, all right? This is depleting us of our joy space. And when our joy cannot move, our blood stagnates, okay? There's so many things I could say about that. Spleen, pancreas, stomach. This is thoughtfulness. This is worry. This is the earth element. The underside of thoughtfulness is worry. So this like clinging of shit, what's going to happen? Shit, what's going to happen? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God, makes our spleen slow. Our spleen is responsible for transforming our food matter into blood. So if our, and also as like a home of lymph, a home of being able to create lymph, which helps us get our white blood cells to places and heal ourselves, let our bodies heal. So if our spleen is all wrapped up in being scared, being worried, how are we going to eat? How are we going to feed our kids? How are we going to survive? Is somebody going to fucking shoot me in my sleep? That's going to fuck with our spleens, okay? And the rest. And then lungs. Lung, large intestine, grief. Okay, this is about receiving inspiration and letting go. All right, if we're having diarrhea issues, if we're having constipation issues, there's a lot that it has to do with being able to express our grief, okay? So when emotions are not allowed to be expressed in our bodies, what happens is that our bodies express them for us, okay? Also known as getting symptoms. All right, and these symptoms come in so many forms. These symptoms come in the form of inability to move body pain, sores. If we're looking at organ stuff, we're looking at organs unable to do their jobs, right? So whenever a patient comes to see me and they have some kind of chronic organ illness, it's generally related to some chronic emotional state. All right. If we're looking at the history of the United States of America, if we're looking at the history of having your land ripped away, having your body ripped away from you and mutilated, having your children ripped away from you, which happened to both indigenous and black people, there's so much emotional havoc, not to mention spiritual havoc, like an insult on the soul that lives in our DNA, okay? So this isn't just a historical thing, right? So historically oppressed peoples also live in current oppressed states. And this looks like having been ripped away from your whole entire belief systems, your ceremonial systems, your ritual systems, your family systems, your village systems, and being replaced with this state of fear, being forced into a way of life under the duress of losing your life. That's going to wreak a whole bunch of havoc on your organs, okay? And when our organs are repressed or blocked, the energy has to get out in some way. For instance, if we have repressed or blocked anger living in our liver, and the liver is responsible for chi all over the body, the smooth flow of chi, but it's stuck, it's going to build up. Okay, and there's going to be this energy buildup and kinetic energy buildup because your blood can actually not move because you're like, Everybody knows in this day and age, not just black and brown bodies, white bodies too, I'll get to white people in a second, that it gets stuck. And then all of a sudden, it goes up. We call that liver yang rising. That is when we freak the fuck out and hurt ourselves and other people. Okay? Right. So, it's very clear if you look at the history of black and indigenous bodies on Turtle Island, what kind of walls we've come up against in not being able to express ourselves, to express our joy, to express our grief, because you have to go, 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 go. If you are someone who has read Marx' communist theory or the Communist Manifesto, something that really like hit home with me when I read it when I was like 18 is the idea of being alienated from the work of your hands. And that meant that if the heart meridian starts at the heart and then goes out through the arms. The hands expression is that of joy, is that of the heart. And when we are connecting our heart to our hands, there's a whole movement of blood, of chi, of spirit that comes through us. But being alienated from the work of our hands, the proletariat, by the bourgeoisie, aka the 1% hiring the common person for a fucking stupid job that you hate, you are literally not able to express your joy through your hands. You become disconnected from your heart, becomes disconnected from your hands. This is also true when people are raped, when female-bodied people are raped constantly, consistently, when male-bodied people are raped constantly, consistently. There's a connection I talk about in my birthing class, which is dropping soon, of the heart to the uterus, or the heart to the prostate, by the bao mai, which is the aorta and the vena cava. Okay, you have these big blood systems in your body that are actually connecting your heart to your reproductive organs. And when we are disconnected from our hands and from our reproductive organs because of a military state, we are unable to fully express our joy. And that adds a whole other layer to a wellness perspective of our body. So I'm going to talk slightly about whiteness in all of this. Upon Turtle Island being stolen, upon Turtle Island being raped by those of European descent, because it's so fucked up, guys, the way this all happened, because Rhode Island was like the first place colonized, and it used to be Rogue Island because the people from Europe who came to the Americas were the ones who were anti-establishment and kind of thrown out because they didn't want to adhere to the Anglican Church. Okay, so they came over here with some other kind of Christianity and taking everything, but it wasn't like predominantly, it wasn't like they tell you in the storybooks, like these pioneering visionaries, right? It was like criminals who were escaping because they were no longer welcome. All right, so they came over here, lost my train of thought. They came over here trying to seek this there's a word I'm looking for, it's not coming, refuge from whatever oppression was happening in Europe. And then the best oppressors are the oppressed, right? So remember that for later. And then start oppressing and, take advantage of the indigenous people who were like, hey, let me feed you, etc. Start trying to take everything, kick people out of the places they have inhabited. I really also, as someone with indigenous blood and European blood and like this battle in my body that I'm still healing, this whole yes, on stolen land, yes. And I want to remind us all too that so many of our indigenous ancestors were nomadic. Like the land could not be had. The land was not to own. The land was to enjoy. The land was to rejoice in. The land was to live with. When I got real revolutionary about 10 years ago and I was like, I want to live off the land, my mom was like, Hita, we live with the land. We don't live off the land. We live with the land. We steward the land. The land stewards us. It's this beautiful symbiotic engagement. So just recognize also where these colonial fights have lived in us, and it's like the land was never to be owned. Okay. Anyways, I digress. Actually, I don't. It's just all fucked up. Oh, I was talking about white people. White people. So came over all trying to escape some shit and then started perpetrating that shit, and then created this idea of whiteness for unification against the Redskins. I literally was walking around the neighborhood with my partner and our child, and we're all ambiguously light-skinned, POC. My partner is Chinese, Irish, and Romanian, and I'm Tarahumara, Picuris, Arapaho, Comanche, Apache, Dene, Spanish, French, from colonialism, and our son looks like us. And so we were talking to some lady in our neighborhood, or in a neighborhood down the way, and there was a home built by an Irish guy or Scottish guy who wanted to bring his wife over, but she's like, but they had to make it out of this stone to protect them from the Redskins. And I was like, whoa, she just said Redskins, and this is fucking 2020, right? Anyways, they wanted to have a unifying process. But in that unifying process, any European ancestral human who came over was just white. You are no longer Scandinavian. You are no longer Celtic. You are no longer a Druid. You are no longer able to identify with the indigenous peoples of your land, because if you want to win here, if you want to own land, if you want to, etc., you have to be white. So the root fucking wound of white people in America is complete and total disassociation from self. And the thing is, it's kind of self-imposed, right? Because their ancestors were like, again, under the duress of fear, unable to own their identity, their cultural identity, their ethnic identity. They had to fit in. So all of these white people now, their ancestry and the fear of their ancestry is disallowing them from being like, oh, actually, humanity, wait. But because they're so fucking scared of not fitting in and then turning into the Redskins, turning into the slaves, right? That the land owning 1% white population is going to kick them out the fucking club. Okay? So, for myself, one of the things that happened when I went to Stanford, and I was in a relationship with, I have a thing for Chinese people, I guess, a half Chinese, quarter Polish, quarter Italian guy. And his mother was an immigrant, and his father was a standard American white man, right? And they called him champ in the home. And he had this narrative, like, you can do whatever you want. You come and this is what, like, there's the American dream from his mother's immigration, but also from his father's white privilege, right? Whereas even though me, with my light-skin privilege, I grew up in a hood-ass environment with a bunch of, like, I was running from the cops in the alley when I was a kid, right? And my narrative was, Mija, we just don't do things like that. Like, I never went skiing, I never went snowboarding, I never thought to travel across the ocean, which I did in college. That's a whole other story. But the internalized oppression that I was dealing with, regardless of my phenotype, my presentation, of course, which did give me a lot of privilege, the inner narrative, the experience in my DNA was one of fear, of inadequacy, of hating myself, because my ancestors were the Genizaros. And for those of you who don't know, Genizaros were the mixed blood Spanish indigenous who were placed deliberately by the Spaniards as human fences between the full-blood indigenous who were attacking them, like the Apache, who I have blood of, and they were like warring peoples, Comanche, they were like, fuck y'all Spanish people. But my ancestors, the mixed blood ass ancestors, and with ancestors on both sides, were put as human shields between the oncoming Indian attacks and the Spanish estates. So it was like we were betrayed by both our sides, right? So then there's a fucked up bloodline that lives in me that I have to heal, that like, wow, I am worthy of life. Like, I'm acceptable, even though my Spanish ancestors fucking sacrificed me to my indigenous ancestors who tried to kill me to get to the Spanish ancestors, right? So these are the kinds of things that live in our ancestry. Now, if you compound fear, anger, repression, grief, deep grief over the course of hundreds of years, you end up with all kinds of debilitating circumstances within your body. So we can, wait, hold on, let me rewind. Now, add to that frankenfoods, hydrogenated oils, lack of fresh, real foods, lack of bioregional foods, lack of ancestral foods for everyone, not just for a few, for everyone. You add to that this necessity to keep up with the Joneses for these white people who just keep disassociating to get that better job. And then you add to that people like me who might have gone to higher education, or other BIPOC who are like made it now, who like work for fucking Deloitte and McKinsey and Company and the medical industrial complex, consistently rejecting their DNA to fit in. That's a whole other pathology. Okay, so we're like denying ourselves constantly for this need to identify within the cis heterocolonial white supremacist, etc., capitalist patriarchy, right? Which the medical industrial complex super duper profits off of, in ways that I don't think a lot of the doctors necessarily understand. Maybe now, like I've been talking about this stuff for years, right? But maybe now in our lifetime, now that the uprisings are happening, now in COVID, now that there's like this huge grief pandemic across the whole world, I think because of industrialization, now that our mother is like, fuck y'all, I'm gonna burn this shit down, more grief, rage, anger, there's even more of a compounding physiological potential for us to, like, our healing is in our face right now, right? So if you look at, let's just go over some symptoms. So we can open it for questions in a little minute, okay? Asthma, endemic in all communities, but really in BIPOC communities, okay? This like lack of being able to breathe. Of course, there's a lot of smoking, right? Because we have coping mechanisms. And I was a huge smoker for a really long time. I'm going on 4 years without smoking outside of ceremony. I've had 3 different ceremonies when I've used tobacco in a ceremonial way since I quit smoking. But it's this need to fill the void, this need to be replenished by this addition to our bodies, okay? But over time, it causes depletion and all kinds of like stuckness and stagnation because of the drying up of our healthy fluids. So then they give you steroids, right? And steroids, I can go into steroids another time, but steroids are good if they need to like save your life in a flash. But if they're chronic use, they kind of F up your body's immune system in a lot of different ways. Look it up. What's another one? Heart failure. So we've got the joy stuff. We've got the lack of joy stuff. We've got the hydrogenated oils that can't be metabolized, that just get stuck in your arteries stuff. Varicose veins, blood stagnation, liver, anger stuff, migraines, liver, anger stuff, or lack of nutrition. There's so much we could talk about here, but I just wanted to I encourage you guys, if you just joined, to go back and watch from the beginning, kind of like the build up of how our colonial histories have gotten us into our chronic illness states. Okay, does anyone have any questions? I'll wait for the questions. I'll wait for the questions. Yes. With the land, yeah, mama be dropping the gems, yo. We are gonna finally do her like Chicana history class thing, but we got thrown for it when my tia got sick. She's better now. So since I don't have any questions right now, healing is a journey, okay? And I've said this, a lot of my friends have said this, you've seen memes about it. There is no destination here. Healing is transgenerational. Healing is ancestral. Healing is interdimensional, okay? We have wounds in our bodies that are not ours from this lifetime. We have memories in our body that are not ours from this lifetime, okay? So when we start healing, it's gonna look so many different ways for so many different people, and a lot of healing is witnessing. how many times do you have, like, let's take it outside of our own bodies, but like you had a bad day, you call your best friend and you're like, no, 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 this motherfucker, blah, blah, blah. You don't really want them to be like, well, I think you should do this. You just need to like say it, right? You need to get it off your chest. That's why this is a plática. Plática means like heart to heart, open communication. It's like a chit chat. It's a huge part of curanderismo, a huge part of that is therapy, right? Just to speak when it not like to someone who's not going to judge you about it, to release what you're feeling, is really, really healing. If you witness the pain, it immediately transforms, and then there's more layers. Grief is one of those things that comes like this, like a sine curve. It's there, it's not, it's there, it's not, it's there, it's not, right? We are consistently healing if we're choosing a healing path. When we aren't healing is when we're not willing to go through the drudgery of the healing, of the pain place, if that makes sense. Okay? So it looks a lot of different ways for a lot of different people, and it's poco a poco, it's step by step. It's not going to just happen right away, right? Like right now, I'm trying to stop drinking coffee because that's another one of the things that I know F's up my kidneys and my digestion and stuff, but I love coffee. My abuelita used to give me coffee when I was a really little girl. It was like a thing for us, for my familia. It feels like comforting when I drink coffee, like because of my upbringing, but as somebody who's like noting what's going on in my body, and I have been for a while, I'm like, oh. So I started making all these like nervine tonics, using plants, and then I've been doing this thing when my fruit starts to go bad, I'll just cook it with a little bit of sugar and make like a syrup. So right now I have skullcap, oat straw, lemongrass, some other stuff, with this molasses, grape, blueberry, ginger syrup I made, and some oat milk, and it looks kind of like coffee. But it doesn't taste like coffee. And oh, there's marshmallow root. So because of the fires, right? It's every little itty bitty thing that helps you come to a place of fully engaging with all parts of yourself. But some of us are in super duper denial. It's so much easier to just come home and throw on the boob tube after a long day of alienating yourself from the work of your hands for the fucking man, right? There's so much more I could talk about. So are there any questions about anything, y'all? About anything? Hello, beautifuls. I'll wait. Okay, I'll wait. You guys can ask me about specific symptoms, which are happy, which are good, or you can ask me about specifics for you. Okay, I got a question. Word. Knowing we carry things generationally, how do we care for our wombs and those seeds within during this time? Thank you for that question. So it can be a slippery slope and very contentious, but it helps me to believe that in some fucking crazy ass no sé qué reasoning, that all of us and all of what we've been through there's some cosmic reason alignment for it, right? Like, if it wouldn't have been for the fucking Spanish colonial genocide on Southwest Indigenous peoples, I wouldn't be here able to like hold this space, right? So I'm like, I don't think I'm an accident, or maybe I am a fucking accident. Maybe it's all chaos and it doesn't fucking matter. But it helps me to think that I matter, right? That to think that I'm here for this work, and I couldn't do this work if I came in any different way, right? Even if I was más morenita, which I prayed to God. God, I must have spent the years from like 7 years old to 9 years old just praying to be morena. I'm like, please God, help a sister out here. Just give me a little more melanin, please. But, you know, así soy. So, I would just really hold space for the fact that you came for a reason, and your seed has come for a reason, and nurture your you and your seed. I know, and you took my birthing class, a lot of what we talked about in the birthing class was our emotional ability to hold ourselves, especially during our pregnancies, because when we're creating life, all of our shit comes up, all of our life stuff comes up. All of our mama shit comes up. All of our daddy shit comes up. All of your shadow shit, when you are in the portal of giving life, is going to come up. How do we hold ourselves in that? How do we love ourselves through that? I've seen a lot of memes recently, and it's like I think consciousness is calling us there. We are healing if we are choosing love. And that's hard, right? Because you have to be able to get out your fucking anger, which is righteous, which is necessary. You have to express the rage and the grief and the pain and the fucked up murderousness inside of you in a way that does not harm yourself or others. In order to feel that joy, right? Because life is a sine curve. Like, we're not supposed to be happy all the time, but we're not supposed to be rageful all the time either. Creator gave us all of it to share and express all of it. But it's when we don't allow ourselves to be that place, to feel that rage, to feel the pain, that it sticks with us, okay? And one of my teachers said, it is the emotions become a problem when they take you over. But if you give them a voice, they won't take you over, if that makes sense. I hope that was helpful. Thank you for asking that question. Oh yeah, and then just keep healing yourself, right? So like personally, I got a strong call to see this healer I've been seeing. I'm taking like a 10-day break right now because it was a lot, because we started literally healing the brujeria lineage in my New Mexican herencia. So there's just like so much that I can't even like talk about. I dreamed of my grandma last night. My hada primita has been feeling our grandma. There's been a lot on that line, but like I'm a human being who like kind of started doing this whole self-discovery thing at half of my life ago. So I'm 36, almost 37. When I left the east side to Stanford is when I was like, what the fuck is life, right? When I started discovering, but it wasn't until after college I was really like, this privilege thing, this like indigenous erasure thing, this like anti-blackness thing, and then more so in the last few years, right? But I'm a 36-year-old ass woman with a baby, with a family, and I'm like, what though? Why though? And I'm still bawling my eyes out. I'm still fucking like writhing my pain, ancestral pain out in healing sessions 18 years later, after I've been like getting acupuncture for 18 years, after I've been doing in-depth studies for 18 years, still until the day I die, right? But the more I do, the more is done, right? For my children. I do believe that I didn't have a daughter because my womb wasn't ready to pass on to her, right? Something better. I don't think a son carries that same heaviness based on maternal lineage closeness, because we're all in our grandmother's wombs. Our maternal grandmother's wombs. So yeah, I think that we need to give ourselves permission to be a work in progress is a really big thing, but start and witness. And the thing about consciousness right now is it's in that flow, right? There are people. All you need to do is follow all the like Instagram people and find your healers in your community. Everybody wants to be like a lineage bruja nowadays, right? Which is cool because it's time. It's time for us to fucking heal, y'all. So follow that. And any way that feels like a yes to you, follow that. And know, sure, the Western medical industrial complex is going to be able to be extremely reactionary and save your life in a pinch because it's made for that. But we have to actually look at what the fuck is happening in our psycho-emotional, spiritual, historical context before we're actually going to heal. How many times have you heard like cancer happened and then it came back, right? Or like, oh, it left, my rash was here, but now it's here, but it's not here anymore, but it's still there, right? Because you're not addressing the root issue. All right. Wind Rain Light says, I did take the birthing and it was so good, everyone. All this within. Yay, a lot of healing is witnessing. Always gratitude, Thimia. Thank you, Hita, Misha. So beautiful to see you here. Isis JP, hello. Where can we do to learn about our ancestors and the traumas they experience? It seems that's important to our healing, but what if we don't have the connection to learn from our families? Thank you for that question. The thing about it is you are your ancestors, okay? Like in your blood right now exists all the ancestral DNA. So even if you don't know, or like I have the privilege of oral history. I have a strong oral history from my maternal side anyway. My paternal side, I'm not as close to, but I've been hitting up my tias recently, like, yo, teach me. So I definitely say hit up your families, but so much of this happens in the unseen realm. So say for instance, you're a human who's always been like attracted to Moroccan drumming. Okay, you might not have that you might not know that's in your ancestry. It could be a past life kind of thing, a soul life kind of thing. But that is your yes is a clue into your you, if that makes sense. So I would highly suggest journey work. Myself and my comadre, dear sister, friend, fellow practitioner of the ancestral medicinal arts and sciences is Charmaine Bravo, and we do every new moon and full moon a sliding scale, no one turned away healing circle, virtual healing circle. So the next one is September 1st at 11:22 p.m. MST, and I'm not sure right now, but I think we're going to start it at like 10:55 p.m. MST because we like to be in full process when the high moon hits. Okay, so we do like what we call quantum healing, which is when we literally go into the unseen realms to unlock the DNA codes and fish that stuff out, okay? Because you're the only one who really knows. And then different seers can tell you, but you'll be amazed at the things that you know about yourself after like asking for help from the unseen realm, from your spiritual guides, from your soul's counsel, from your cosmic ancestors, from your honorable this life blood ancestors, from your past life realms and dimensions. Okay, this isn't like woo-woo stuff. This is science. Okay, this is quantum physics and how we connect on a quantum level to heal our DNA. All right, and we see our imaginations are actually it's not just your imagination. That's a tool of the colonizer and the power structures to make you question yourself. Okay, all of this shit that we see, iPhones, freaking the Lincoln Monument, that existed in some white man's imagination, okay, before it became full form. So this is why Afrofuturism is so important. This is why futurism in general is so important, so that we give our imaginations a place to look towards something different and create something different. So historical context is indeed important, but we can do so much without it because we're trying to create some new shit. Like, we don't want colonialism to happen anymore, right? I hope that was helpful. Okay, have you done a past life regression constellation? Not specifically a regression constellation. I have done a few regressions. When I treat people, sometimes past life stuff comes up if it's a priority for healing. It just depends. Thank you for saying that. They say you inspire me. Thank you, many blessings. Just blew my mind there. Ooh, what did I say? What I say? Write it down. I'm like, I don't know what I say. I just open my mouth and shit comes out. Are there any herbs associated with leaving denial and gaining acceptance and courage? I think the answer coming through when it comes to our plant cesters, our herbal allies, plants have spirits. Plants are spirits, okay? Different peoples have different relationships to different plant spirits. Different bioregions have different relationships to different plant spirits. What I would say is give yourself permission to work with a plant that you're drawn to. Whatever that plant is, it doesn't honestly matter. But it matters that it matters to you. And then let the plant speak to you. Okay? There's an apothecary here in Boulder called Rebecca's Apothecary, and the lady who owns that came and spoke at our acupuncture school. And she said that one of her teachers is like, plants are just like friends, you know, by the time you're 70, 80 years old, you only have 2 or 3 of them, but they work for everything. Okay, so like, it's not the constituents or the ingredients, if you will, of the plants that are doing all the work. From an indigenous perspective, from a plant-based perspective, from an earth-based perspective, it's the relationship you have with the spirit of that plant. You are your ancestors. You are. Have you did a past life? Okay, no, I already answered that question. Any advice on how to hold space or deeply support a loved one who is going through the process of healing from generational ancestral trauma? Yeah, man, just hold space. Like, one of the biggest things I've learned as a practitioner of medicine is that you cannot force anybody's anything. Even like people would hit me up like, Dimia, my mom this, or my husband this, or can you treat this? Unless it's like a child, even like a child who's like 8 who doesn't want to, you can't make them, right? People have to choose their healing. And so when people choose their healing, you can just ask them what they need. What do you need? Sometimes they just want you to sit there. Sometimes they want a hug. Sometimes they need some tea. Sometimes they need space. Sometimes they need some music. Like, if you truly want to support someone, show up where they're at and ask them what they need. And then listen. Mm-hmm. My mom had never at 42. When you said your womb wasn't ready, nobody saw me coming. Yeah, man. Creator be like that. Nice. I love that. It's the relationship between you and the plant spirits. For real, for real. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's see what the Book of Faces says. I am Mestiza Honduran. I belong to a women's circle, mestizas, lesbian, black people. Right now we have many conflicts between ourselves of anger, bitterness, power struggles. How do we heal and release our caca? Thank you for asking that. I don't know how popular this is or could be for most people, but personally, I'm a proponent of segregated healing spaces because we all have different shit to heal from. It's also like we have different triggers, right? Like, because again, I'm just going to speak very candidly from my perspective. As a Chicana who was raised in indigenous circles, who was raised in a hood life, and being as light-skinned as I am, I have a lot of fucking woundedness by more melanated indigenous people because they were mean to me growing up, right? So I feel like I need a support system, and I've thought about even putting one on of like light-skinned POC, because like not accepted by white people, not accepted by your people, you're just like living in 2 worlds, and you know everybody hates you. That's my experience, right? But then a more melanated Chicana might be like, fuck you with your light skin privilege, right? And like, if I hadn't done my healing, that used to really hurt me, right? But that's fucking valid for them, because I do have light skin privilege, and I don't know what it's like to live in a more melanated Chicana's body. I don't know what it's like to live in a black human's body. I don't know what it's like to live in a light skinned black human's body, right? I don't know what it's like to live in a man's body. I just know what it's like to live in my body and what my pain places are. So when it comes to interracial groups and all the shit going on, I'd say take care of your own self first and your own healing so that you are clear before you mix your bullshit up with everybody else's bullshit, because everybody's wounded as fuck. And when a bunch of wounded people get together, more wounding is going to happen, right? So I get a lot of white people who come to me and they're like, help me heal my lineage, help me heal my ancestry. How do I help black people heal? I'm like, nah, you fucking heal yourself. Okay, you heal your own guilt and pain at your slave owner ancestors. You heal your own guilt and pain at your I'm not brown enough shit. Okay, you heal your own guilt and pain of like, I'm too black. I have a neighbor who's super beautiful woman, gorgeous, beautiful, dark skin, and she's African American, and she's like, I've always been too dark. And I saw her wearing this blue with this like gold makeup, and I was like, oh my God, you're so gorgeous, right? But she's got to heal that in her. And I told her, I'm like, I've always been too light. And we had a moment together where like neither of us ever felt like accepted by our own people because of a completely different thing. But my point is, when it comes to interracial healing, I think first heal yourself, and find the people who you can connect with, and really think about be considerate, especially in this time, in this day and age, if you're somebody who benefits from white privilege, about the harm that you're causing in circles of color, even if that is your people, right? Because people deserve spaces where they feel comfortable to heal. Like, I have family members who don't trust white people at all, who like hate, literally family members who hate white people, and like it's hard because even though I fit in with them because I'm their family, there are people when I'm on the street who think I'm a white woman, right? So it's like I feel like they're talking about me even though I'm not that, but because other people who don't know me perceive me as that. It's complex. But we need to find where we can hold space for ourselves first, and find community that can help us heal. And when it comes to other people, specifically other people of color, in this day and age who are also moving through their own healing, it's really okay for you to ask, like, are you comfortable with me here? Like, is it okay? Can we talk about it? And some of them might be like, nah, I don't want to fucking talk to you about your pain because I'm done doing labor for you. Respect that. Okay? And part of one of the reasons, and I've told people this, part of one of the things I think I'm here for, and why I grew up how I grew up, and why I am who I am with my light skin privilege, is because I'm one of the POC who I feel like it is my place to do a lot of that emotional labor, so more melanated people don't have to, which is also why I'm here. Okay? So get in where you fit in, but work on your own damn self first. All right? Okay. I wish I like could snapshot when you guys, like, what I was saying when you guys are commenting, because I just see a bunch of cool stuff and I'm like, fuck, what was I saying when they said that? Yes, that. Thank you for your answer. You're welcome. Sounds simple enough. Holy damn, I feel this. The in-betweenness of belonging and identity. Yeah, it's intense. I am also struggling to phrase this question. But how do we show up for ourselves in our internal yeses while also acknowledging our physical forms and the harm they have done, possibly to others, systematically and historically? Thank you for asking that question. I think it's a lot of holding our inner child, honestly, because I know so much of my personal wounding happened at like Indian market when I was like 8, and all the Indian kids and the Chicano kids were like making fun of me, right? And so like the little girl, the little Dimia who didn't fit in is her. I actually, literally, last week I had a healing session and I was like, I didn't have any friends. Nobody loved me. And I just started crying. I'm like, bitch, you're 36. You ain't over that yet? No, I'm not over it yet. It still hurts. But I have to like give myself permission to let it hurt. And I also have to give it permission to heal, because I don't want to be all like, the brown kids don't like me for the rest of my life, you know? A lot of self-compassion. Hold the little girl, hold the little man, hold the little non-binary who was like hurt by their circumstances, you know? And you don't have to be like, everybody has an inner child that's hurt, and different people have different core wounds, or cornerstones, as the what's that movie, that show, Wild Westworld talks about. What's your cornerstone? But we all have to give ourselves space to feel the woundedness, so that you have to feel it to heal it, right? And then you use tools like caressing, holding yourself, or punching a pillow or going to a river and bawling or screaming, doing a lot of different things. And there are healers, there are guides who can help you actualize your emotions into healing tools, or use healing tools to actualize your emotions. Okay, and yeah, so the whole other systematically and historically, I think that we can't really uphold other people historically and systematically in the most authentic and integrous way until we've done our healing. My hermana, comadre, maestra Nataline says that we're fully healed of something when it can be brought up and we no longer have an emotional charge around it. And I've seen that specifically myself with my ex-fiance, my past relationship, where like we're good. I've done all my healing around that, around like the heartbreak and everything, to where like we're friends now. You know, it's all good. Him and my man can kick it. It's good. But like other things, like bringing up my like abusive ex-stepfather, there's still some stuff that comes up there, right? Like we know what we're not healed through by the emotional response we have in our bodies. So I also wouldn't try to, don't ever try to heal anybody else, okay? Always give yourself permission to ask a human what they need from you. And if they need space, you need to honor that. Honor what other people need, because you're not, even if you're a healer, like stay in your fucking lane. Stay in your lane. And you're only going to know what your lane is if you're being extremely honest with yourself and everyone around you. Okay. I've encountered the sentiment that if it is not of your physical lineage, it's not your place to learn or be in those spaces. What do you think of that? Yeah, that's a hard one too. Once again, like honor the people who feel wounded, right? Or who are wounded. Like a lot of, and talking about appropriation, like so much of privilege has allotted to or like, you know, people with white lineages and immigrant lineages in the United States, of privileged lineages, to be able to travel to Peru, for instance, and, you know, learn some medicine stuff from those people, when the indigenous people of the Americas we can't even fucking find our own people, right? We can't even speak our own languages because because of colonialism, because of colonial violence, because of assimilation. Same thing with those of African descent, the descendants of the formerly enslaved, right? There's like all of these privileged people like, oh, I'm going to do my mission trip in Africa, and that's like straight up privilege. And then they come back with this like African drum skill, and they come back with this like African something skill, and it's harmful as fuck based on the fact that like African Americans don't have the monetary privilege, most of them. I don't want to speak in absolutes here, but based on historical precedent and poverty and systematic oppression, like that is not an opportunity for a lot of African American peoples, right? So it's straight up harmful for like a white girl or a mixed girl or somebody to be like, oh, I'm traveling in Africa, look what I learned, and then a black person's like, damn, ow. And that's specifically happened to me too, like when people are like traveling to Mexico and like white girls speaking Spanish and come back and my Spanish is all like busted up and broken up because of assimilation and colonialism, right? So I do believe that spirit speaks in ways that humans can't understand, and I believe that as humans in third dimensional realities and third dimensional bodies, we need to just be considerate of our fellow humans who have fucking trauma, and I can't answer what that looks like for you. In my personal experience, I'm sure that there are times and people, based on the current political climate, if I'm practicing indigenous medicine that I was raised with, I could be questioned or even harming other people who identify as indigenous and look more indigenous than I do. And my ancestors and my elders chose that for me. and gave that to me, and I feel in integrity with practicing the medicine that I've been chosen for. And I just have to be exactly who I am, right? And be mindful that if somebody has an attitude with me, or if somebody is looking at me a certain way, that I want to not be like perpetuating harm. So how can I be kind? How can I be loving? How can I be the most authentic as possible? It's complex. So I encourage everyone to like tune in with themselves and just check your privilege. Like, where did you get that? Why are you there? Did you have a parent who gave you a bunch of money after college to go traveling and you learned this skill? But like, know that. And I don't really have the right answers. I don't know what the right answers are, but I think that honoring the people whose lineage you learn from, paying them, naming them, sending residuals back to them. I do not support white people profiting off of indigenous medicine without also giving money back to that community, or like 50-50, you know. I saw this doula training in Africa. I can't remember what it was called because I blocked it out. Bunch of white girls, in my opinion, exploiting the labor of African midwives. That's hard to see, right? So I think it's case by case basis, but I would also like check in with that specific tribe. Who's teaching you? Are you don't go learning some indigenous medicine from a white person who went and lived in indigenous place and then brought it back and is charging hundreds of thousands of dollars for shit. Like, that's not okay, in my opinion. That's a complex question. We could talk a lot about it, so I'm gonna keep going. I have trouble releasing the feelings, even going to the river. I've been in such denial survival for years. Any advice could really repress feelings out from the dark? Go see someone. Go see someone who's specific to that. You can make an appointment with me. That's kind of what I do, through tarot cards or even just connecting. My link's in the bio. My comadre maestra Panquetzani of Indigimama does entire classes. There's one, Matriz y Concha, which is for female-bodied humans with humans with wombs, to like really go deep into the womb work, which is a place that a lot of stuff is stored, and that's like a 3-month course. I would save up for that. I would go, and you could do acupuncture, Ayurveda, spiritual healer, hands-on healer, soadora, like get help. You can do some stuff by yourself, but we can't see all of our blind spots. We need help, so get help. Okay. We know we're not healed through by the emotional charge in our body. Big facts. Healers are still healing too, man. We're all still healing. Remember that. Be compassionate. And it's hard because colonialism's taught us not to be compassionate. Colonialism's like, fuck you. Which works sometimes. All right. Any other questions, darlings? Any other questions, darlings? All right, doesn't look like it. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. You're welcome, Erica. Love you. You're welcome, Temperance. Okay, if you guys are benefiting from my content, you're welcome to leave me some cash love. Cash App, Muse Medicina, PayPal, eutimia@gmail.com, and Venmo, eutimia-montoya. Any little bit helps. Share this far and wide. I will be doing a Wednesday holistic wellness platica every Wednesday at 2:22 p.m. That's what I'm going to aim for if my baby's asleep. So keep an eye out. I'm going to be calling it the 3W play. So 3W platica, Wednesday wellness holistic platica. And I say 3W because whole as in a whole person. I also am like, linguistically, I'm like, why would these motherfuckers take the W off when whole is like a thing? And I think it's delegitimized the importance of holistic healing. Yeah. So 3W play every Wednesday at 2:22 p.m. Tomorrow, at some point, I will be tuning in to give you guys the Thursday Thunder reading, and that is a tarot reading. You are welcome to book with me on my link tree. I do consults Sundays and Thursdays, and you can book a half an hour at a time. And send me any kind of testimonial if you want. I should screenshot some of these things before I hang up, or you can just write them down and text them to me. I appreciate it. Once again, my name is Eutimia Cruz Montoya. I am a lineage hands-on healer, seer, basista, and a trained Chinese medicine doctor. I am a daughter of colonialism, a daughter of Turtle Island, and I am here to help us all heal from all this buck shit happening right now. Please feel free to get a hold of me. Email is best, eutimia@gmail.com. And if you have any questions for me to address on the 3-dub play, let me know by sending me an email with holistic plática in the question, holistic plática question in the subject. Orale pues. Thank you so much. Many blessings. Bye.